Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Peter Sellen is my special guest in this hour. How are you?
I'm glad that you said special. I've made you feel wonderful now.
No.
It's nice to see you again, everybody, yes.
Very good to see you. You want to talk about CO2?
Well, there's shutting down all sorts of operations in countries and having a hissy fit about it's no good for you.
What, CO2?
Apparently.
Oh, well, Professor Plimer can put people straight on that.
That's what I was saying to your team here, that in the days of the dinosaurs, the parts per million of CO2, I think it was 4,000 or something, as best they could judge. Uh-huh. And now it's down to about 300 or 400. And when it gets to that low, the oxygen-making equipment, i.e. all the plants on the planet, will be gone.
Yeah, well, we need CO2. There's no doubt about that. And the atmosphere is 0.04% CO2, which is negligible. In historical terms, it's very low.
Yes.
But it's been stable for billions or millions of years.
Yeah.
And since humans started dragging it out of the ground and burning it, it's gone from 300 to 400. So while it might seem a small percentage, like 400 parts per million, apparently it's having some effect on the weather.
But are you sure it's
not entirely
having a bad effect?
Not entirely. I mean, there is some background level as well. But the interesting thing I was saying to Peter before, methane is if they're worried about CO2, methane is a far worse greenhouse gas. So why aren't we doing something about that? And even innocent water vapour is a very bad greenhouse gas.
Water vapour?
Well, apparently it's, because it keeps the heat inside the planet.
Okay.
So why aren't we focusing on if in fact greenhouse heating is an issue?
Because the whole thing has got nothing to do with climate. It's totally to do with the redistribution of wealth. And whether you're talking about trade, we have to do more trade to help emerging economies.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Struggling third world countries.
Like China with their space station.
Well, China is not a first world country. They say they're an emerging country and must be treated very well. This COP thing, COP29, which has just sort of wound up, it was all about raising money, putting the hard word on big industrialized successful countries to hand over money to third world countries or struggling economies.
Yes.
Many of them are struggling through their own incompetence, stupidity, and corruption.
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, it is all down to the dollar, no matter which way you poke it. But I was saying to your colleague here that there's about in Victoria they said you can't drill for gas. It's verboten. But our friend Ian Plimer, as we spoke earlier, he said there's at best guess, because he's a geologist, he knows what he's talking about, 1,000 years worth of coal, a similar amount of years for gas, and maybe half or thereabouts, something like that, of uranium. They're never going to run out. But it's only the governments that are...
No, but the whole problem is, our emissions are minuscule and of no issue. It's, again, a case of a government trying to fix a problem that doesn't exist for its own reasons.
Yeah.
But the silly thing is China's allowed to put up new power stations every week, and we're not allowed to have any.
Yeah,
and it's one atmosphere, one ocean. It all mixes, and it's just ridiculous that we're being penalised.
But why do the people go along with this? Because you should have not so much marching in the street, but you should have people just openly laughing at Chris Bowen, who hands over $50 million at this COP29 to go into the fund, which they hope will be billions or trillions. Why? It's a redistribution of wealth. It's a socialist.
Isn't he a total embarrassment to the country, though?
I think
It's a
he
shocker.
is.
He's absolutely
Blackout
embarrassing.
Bowen, that's the phrase that somebody coined.
Yeah, well, we're heading towards blackouts. There's no doubt about that.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
And I see our Premier, Peter Malinowski, Malinowskis, he's gone over to try and get a COP for us. He wants 2027 here in Adelaide. 2027.
Right.
Yeah. He says it's going to be bigger than the Gather Round.
Right.
40,000 people come to town.
Yeah.
Of course, they come to town in their private jets and aeroplanes, and all these, of course, don't do anything for greenhouse gas or whatever.
Well, no, but you're right. It's all about the money, and this is a regular routine. Put the islands, the smaller nations, put out their hands saying, "Oh, our island is sinking."
Well, it's not.
Was it the University of New Zealand said it's actually rising?
They're blaming us for the ocean rising, but if it is in fact attributable to humans, well, like you say, Australia's 1%. Why not blame all the Chinese, the Indians, the Americans? Blame everybody else?
Absolutely right.
We're not the sole reason if it is rising for that happening.
But it's
so
so-
why blame us?
Well, they couldn't rise around Nuku'alofa or Fiji without it going up at Port Adelaide or
That's right.
Exactly.
Kurnell or wherever.
Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense. And the idea of saying, well, we cannot benefit from our coal and our gas and our uranium, but we can send it off to other places where they can benefit from
And
it.
it all comes floating back to us.
Comes floating back. Exactly.
Yeah. Totally, absolutely weird.
So CO2 is not the boogeyman in most cases that people make it up to be.
No.
What is it? Well, my chemistry is lacking because I didn't get to do chemistry, but it's 2 molecules of oxygen and water.
2 O's and a C
Yeah.
carbon.
But I think was it a couple of years ago now, the Americans, people in charge of all this stuff, said that CO2 is a pollutant. Shocking, outrageous. Hang on, it's plant food, according to from our friend Ian.
Well, I agree with minimising what you might call air pollution, and that's like diesel engines are very dirty. They put out a lot of particulate matter and NO2s and things like that, and that's not good for us to breathe in. Trucks and everything, but so minimising that I think is good.
I was watching Paul Murray on Foxtel on his show on TV, and he said that we've got this. It was in Victoria. I think they've got this huge battery farm, and if it all falls over, we've got the batteries. How long do you think that they last?
5 minutes.
2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours.
2 hours.
And what's the life of them, and how do we dispose of them when they've run their race?
Well, you've got the blades on the turbines.
Yeah.
They were splintering. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and old farmer Joe's getting stabbed in the head with a bit of balsa wood.
Yeah,
A small, big bit of balsa wood.
You see the wonderful logic of us, minor polluting country, minor emissions, selling our coal to China, who then benefit their people with our coal and our cheap energy, and they make turbines
Yep.
and solar panels, and they sell those back to us.
Yep. I don't know if you've seen those pictures of an ocean of solar panels stretching to the horizon, and the dirt under the ground underneath it. It used to, in many cases, be prime agricultural.
I know.
That's just, we're diverting a little bit. Madness.
It is madness, but
If you'd left the trees there, that'd probably be a bigger carbon sink than the solar cells.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
But it's a
You get
group
more
thing. Do you guys remember the millennium bug?
Yes.
You know, the world was going to end.
Panicking, yeah.
Planes were going to fall out of the sky. The world would never be the same again.
No.
And it was just all a scare, a con.
This new fella that Mr. Trump has decided to appoint him as this guru, the energy guru. Do you think that's going to work out? He's got all the people he's hiring are in their 40s. They're getting rid of the old guard, definitely. So.
Oh, yes, it's a complete changing of everything. But you've got to be careful mentioning Trump around Tony. He gets rather upset.
Oh, you're going to have both point of view, I guess.
Yeah. This legislation to ban children from viewing social media under 16, do you think that can work?
I think it should be banned under 99 years old. In other words, it shouldn't exist.
Well, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as the computer or tablet or whatever.
No.
Yeah.
And it was up to your parents to sort of indicate this is a good thing to do or it's not. Really.
Yeah, they would turn off. They'd turn off the TV set when they thought you should go to bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think overall it's just doing more bad than good these days.
But how can you ban it? It's out of the bird has flown.
Kids will get around this through their parents, I think, having to authorise whether they've got access to the account, and they'll find a way around it.
Well,
especially the kids on it now won't want to give it up.
There's another one called Blue Sky I saw this morning. I don't know who's running that. So
I don't know that one.
Blue Sky. It's a more holistic one than all the others with all the ding-dongs on it. And apparently that's going very well. So
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
I must jump on it.
Yeah, Blue Sky.
Well, the media companies will be fined $50 million if they breach these laws. But how can the media companies control what my children are doing?
Well, exactly. No, it's a problem. But like I said, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Some of these things, you have all this money.
Well, if it was $50 million, you stand to risk or stand to lose. You just wouldn't. You'd find some way of blocking off Australia. You wouldn't go there. And why must we be the only country in the world to do something like this? It's like the NDIS. We are the only country in the world who has this $42 billion NDIS.
That's crazy. But at this COP thing, they signed an agreement, the Americans and the British, about seeing how we can get more use out of the uranium as a fuel. And Mr. Bowen wouldn't have a bar of that. No, we'll do it. 50 countries have numerous power plants.
He embarrassed us again with that position he took.
Yeah.
And yes to nuclear submarines, but no to nuclear power. Where's the logic?
It's okay on the water. I've been out on a submarine a couple of times. It's okay on the water. Put it on land. Lethal. Yeah. Absolutely terrible.
You were a sailor, weren't you?
Yes. I did 7 years before the mast. And no, it was all above board.
Different mast.
I signed up for 12 years when I was 15. It was a junior recruit program.
Good time?
Well, yeah, it's a bit daunting when you're being yelled at all the time. Do this, do that, and run around the oval with a gas mask on. See how long it takes you to
pass out.
So at the time, the different governments came. I think Billy McMahon's government came in. If you'd done a certain number of years, you could give notice in 18 months and get out. So I said, well, I wanted to get into all this sort of arena, the TV, radio, whatever. So I gave notice and did Port Harvey's radio school, pardon me, and went from there. It's when things sort of. But no, the Navy was good. He was an 18-year-old boy in Hong Kong for the first time. The Philippines, with Subic Bay.
Did you behave yourself?
Well, some did. but you see how we're looking after the welfare of our young sailors as you go off the ship onto the gangplank. There was a big box of something. What was it?
Condoms?
Yes.
No,
give that man a Cupid doll. Oh, yes. No, they
Is that not encouraging?
Well, I don't know. We never discussed it in any great depth, but certainly they were trying hard to keep us fit and well.
Yes.
But no, we travelled to Japan and Philippines, Hong Kong, Singapore, all over the Far East.
Yeah, yes.
And I recommended having a go at either the Navy, Air Force, or whatever as a career, because it's pretty good travel.
Yeah. You say you did go on a submarine?
Yes. Well, I just did a story on one. It was about 5 years ago now with a cameraman. I wouldn't arrange we go out on the Rankin, which had just come down from Korea. Yeah. So they were going to do exercises with the British and the Americans off of the Indian Ocean, and we were the enemy.
Terrific.
So there's no windows. You can't tell you how up, down, whatever. So we were out in the Indian Ocean for a week.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
And the food was excellent.
Yeah.
And the crew were a bit annoyed that we were on there because they just got another film crew, got rid of them. And I said, well, it was only me and a cameraman. Now we'll wash our own dishes. We'll look after, help keep the thing tidy because it's a very cramped space. When I was on, before all of that, I was on the Melbourne, the aircraft carrier.
Oh, that could have been fun.
It was great. And we had the Skyhawks, which we eventually gave to New Zealand, and the track of the twin-engine anti-submarine aircraft. And I was the supply officer with one of those squadrons.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the night, if they break something, I've got to get up in the middle of the night. There's about 20,000 storerooms, find the appropriate item, and so they could fit it and keep going.
Did you stay a rating, or did you?
I was a petty officer, which is like a sergeant.
Yes. What's the status of women in the Navy? I don't think they let women onto submarines.
Yes, they do.
They do?
The one on the sub I was on was the second. There was the 2IC. She was the second lieutenant.
Right. Okay.
And another young girl was in charge of all the pyrotechnics, all the rifles and the small arms and hand grenades and all these other lethal things. So no, they've come a long way.
What do you make of the fact that these days they cannot find enough people to crew more than one submarine at a time?
There's no way you're going to get people to crew 12 submarines.
So why are we buying them?
The trick is that they want to lease some of the American crew and some of ours, I think.
Actually, Peter, how many crew are there on the
Classified.
Collins? Is that classified?
Probably.
Oh.
I don't want to get myself dragged out by the scruff of the neck.
Probably less than the Oberons, I imagine.
The Oberons were very slender.
Yeah, that's the old one.
Yeah, with a big bulbous sonar thing on the dome. So I think there's a crew of those about 90, 80.
Oh, that many! Wow.
Something like that.
I told the story the other day about driving from home into work. I was at 2GB at the time, and I had a back road way to avoid the traffic, and it was going past a place called Blackwattle Bay. Now, Blackwattle Bay was the home base for the Oberon class submarines, and every single day you'd go past, and this would be going on for years. You'd look down, and there would be the submarines. They were parked, if that's the expression, side by side, looked like they were lashed together.
Mm-hmm.
They never moved.
No.
And I thought to myself, well, there had to be a story in this. I was doing mornings. Mm-hmm. So we rang the Navy.
What's going on?
And we said, the submarines never go anywhere. Why do we have them? What use are they? And they said, look, how do we put it? They're mothballed. And that, at the moment, is the best use for them.
Yes.
Now,
you just got to keep painting them so they don't rust away.
I guess.
We went on this South Pacific tour that I just mentioned, and we were going into Pearl Harbor, and the Enterprise, one of the first big nuclear aircraft,
I remember,
had run aground.
When she came to Sydney?
In the harbour. No, this is Pearl Harbor.
Oh, Pearl Harbor. Oh.
So we finally got that all sorted, and we parked ourselves on one of the fingers at the wharves. Yeah. And you've got to stand up on the dress ships, stand up the length of the ship.
Oh, yeah.
Your best uniform. And I said to the guy next to me, have a look. Japanese submarine. This is 1970. Yeah. 30 odd years since
the war.
The thing. And there's just tying up next to us with this rising sun flag.
Goes to show you.
Scared me.
Yesterday's enemy is today's best trading buddy.
This won't keep you. We went to Fiji. Yeah. And we had a destroyer escort because we just went to Vietnam.
Yes.
And
this was on the Melbourne?
Yeah, the Melbourne. Yeah. And so we went to Fiji, and the tug people were on strike. Yeah. And because we'd been to Vietnam and they were against it, they opposed it.
Oh, yes.
So what the ever vigilant naval airmen did, they put 2 Grumman tracker aircraft sideways on the flight deck, another 2 down the back, same thing, fired them up with a naval airman in the cockpit, his foot on the brakes, all chained to the deck, and blew us into the dock.
That's innovative.
It was in the dock, but there was a band playing on the wharf. Couldn't hear anything. He said, warm, warm, warm. There's 4 cyclone engines at the warp speed. And to leave, did the same thing.
Yep.
In reverse.
That's lateral thinking. But how dare a trade union or anybody, if the government, democratically elected government decides that we go to war, we go to war. We don't have groups of people in our society deciding, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I won't be part of that. I think it's just disloyal.
Yeah, and I said you've got to have a certain personality, but to get into the submarines, you've got to have a special sort of, is this for me? Do I get, do I get scared of being underwater?
It'd be
all of that.
Understandable. If you had any shade of claustrophobia, you'd definitely exclude yourself from the silent service.
Well, yeah. That was a good show, by the way, the TV show.
Yeah.
But when you're leaving harbour, you stand on the casing and there's no guardrails. That scared me more than anything else.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I think they had folding down ones, but when you're leaving, they don't bother with that. They just tie them down.
Yes.
No, it was good. I enjoyed doing it. I recommend anything like that to get a career. There was one job going a torpedo mechanic. I said, there's not a lot of torpedo mechanic jobs out. So I went on to a clerical job, which was, that was good.
Yeah. But I see that the Navy, I don't know whether it's the military generally, but they're paying people good money, $10,000, $12,000 to sign up for another
to stay,
duty, another tour of duty.
Yeah, well, the government is always, the defence never gets what it's, what it really needs. It's the thing. Like those helicopters that they buried.
Well, that's weird, isn't it?
Nothing wrong with the airframe. We just put them in the ground.
Well, why not just give them, donate to somebody who could use them?
Zelensky was dying for things like that.
Yep.
Was that the Black Hawks or the...
No, it was the French...
Taipan?
See, that's it.
Oh, Taipan. Yeah.
No, we're getting Black Hawks to replace those.
Right.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
I don't know that we actually deploy any of these things. Never a shot in anger seems to be fired. Things become obsolete before they get used.
Well, one of the fellas that I've seen on TV, an expert, he was a submariner. The nuclear submarines are better than the other one because they can get to where they need to be like 10 times quicker.
And they can stay submerged indefinitely.
That's right, until the food runs out.
Well, that's another point, isn't it? Yeah. But
you're never going to get more than 1 or 2 at sea at any given time, at any one time.
No.
There's just not enough people to do it.
The battery-driven ones... they have to come up and they've got a snorkel thing.
Yeah.
What's the connection between coming up and snorkeling to keep the batteries going? What's that about?
Well, you have to charge the battery. It's not the actual diesel engines don't actually drive anything. They're a generator.
Yeah.
And the actual driving motor is a huge electric motor. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not connected. It just sits there like a...
It's actually like a hybrid car when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's got a motor for the propellers, battery.
That's right.
That you charge up with the diesel engine.
Yes.
Almost like a diesel train, a diesel electric train.
But as I said, the food was the highlight of that particular trip. That's fantastic.
Speaking of food, one of our great sponsors, the Rising Sun Inn, which you'll find at 60 Bridge Street at Kensington. You can talk to Grant on 83330721. Have you ever been there, Pete?
I have actually, yeah. Very good.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric, very, I don't know, it's got lots of character.
Yes, yeah.
Open fires and old wood.
Yes, no, I've been there a couple of times now.
Yeah, built in the 1840s, 1845, I think.
Gee, yeah, I didn't know that.
No, a lot of history. 60 Bridge Street at Kensington. Wonderful menu, great wine cellar, and it's not expensive. which is the sort of thing that basically people have to think about these days, particularly if you're organising a Christmas party or an end-of-year function of some kind. 08, if you're out of town, 83330721. And, of course, our other fine sponsor is Elder Fine Art, 106 Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. Their telephone number, if you would like to get on their mailing list, and as Jim said earlier today, the catalogue will be out next week. So if you want a catalogue, call Jim on 8267-2869.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.